Welcome to the Purpose Podcast with Dr. Jazz, where I'm your host, Dr. Jazz, and we journey to purpose together. Today, I have with me Bradley Thomas. Hey, Bradley.
Hey,
How you doing today?
doing very well.
Good. So let me introduce Bradley. And like y'all know, I just jump right in. You know, that's me and that's my style. So Bradley Thomas is the owner of Inspire Everyday Fitness. He's a newlywed, congratulations, and born and raised in Mississippi, country boy. Bradley has 10 years of experience in corporate accounting and has been the owner of Inspire Everyday Fitness going on 3 years. Bradley is a certified health coach, a certified personal trainer who has a passion for health and fitness, helping people in lifelong learning, among other things. Bradley is also plant-based and has incorporated the plant-based diet into Inspire Everyday Fitness as well. IEF is helping people to achieve awesome results, and their tagline is "Your success helps inspire others," which is dope. Bradley is a driven person who wants to help to make the world a better place and who wants to leave a strong legacy for future generations. That sounds like somebody we should know. So I'm glad you're here, Bradley.
Thank
All right,
you.
so let's get started. What does purpose mean to you?
Yes, purpose for me really, purpose means that it's something that it was almost a path that was almost made before me for me to walk into. Purpose also implies meaning, significance, value, purpose. Purpose also implies that that there is something there for, again, it's something there for me to do, for me to walk in, that's going to be impactful. That's what purpose really is for me.
So you said a path made for you to walk into. I like that verbiage. So how does one walk into their purpose? Like I'm literally envisioning, I like to be outside. I'm literally envisioning like trees, birds, like this lovely path. And you're being like, man, this is my purpose. But I know it's not that easy. We'll get to like the other parts. But like, is that what do you mean? Can you expound some more on what you mean by that?
You know, I've never thought about it like this, but we're going to run down this trail. I love how you just put a picture together based on kind of what I said, because I think purpose is a lot like that. When you're not walking in purpose, when you're not walking in that path that was really kind of set before you, the trees and the birds and all those things, what you end up doing is walking. It seems like in the weeds, in the bush. You're walking on something that's very rough, that's not really clear. You can't see around the corner. The only thing that you start to realize after a little while, walking in a way that is not in line with your purpose, typically you realize that, you know, I really need to find this thing called purpose, because if I don't know how this ends. I don't know if this really ends very well. I can't really see very far ahead of me. I don't feel comfortable in my environment. There, there seems to be some other things wrong here that I might not even be able to put my finger on. But that's what it looks like to me when you're not walking in purpose. And then that road to finding purpose, there are a few ways, a few angles to take on it, but actually, let me slow down and let you kind of ask again so I can get into it.
No, you're fine. I really like how you took my analogy and made your own. But that's really dope. That's really dope though, because I never thought about. So I feel like even though I do this for a living, technically, I feel like I just found out my purpose. And I think your your analogy of walking in the weeds and not being able to see as far ahead, like I honestly think people can relate to that on this podcast who are listening, because it's like until you find your purpose, you're kind of just like aimlessly walking or aimlessly searching, and I really think I felt that way. But even for me, and I quickly, because it's not about me, I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, right? And then when that didn't happen, it kind of was like, oh, let me figure out. So I think sometimes even in this like this path, we think we're on the right path because it looks a little clear, until the path just ends. And I think sometimes when it comes to purpose, until you figure out what your purpose is, you'll kind of run into a lot of dead ends. Yeah, and I, again, I like to hike. I have gone off trails before, like a dummy, and been lost in the woods for an hour and a half and just been like, why did you do this? So I understand like both, like for real, in real life, and like through the analogy on what it is to walk into your purpose. So yeah. So let's get into what you're talking about. Like, how did you get to your purpose? So you said there are a couple of ways that people can find their purpose. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So a big way to find purpose is through serving. And I was fortunate enough to be exposed to serving firsthand as a child and watching my parents do it. Watching my dad in particular, he did this ministry with the church that we were part of, and it was a boys club. It was a Saturday morning boys club. We were in the inner city of Jackson, and he'd take me down the streets of some pretty rough neighborhoods, and we would bring these guys to church, give them a meal, give them activity, and give them some word, and take them home. And that was one of my first exposure. That was one of my first exposures where I'm actively involved in serving. And then it's been, and that lasted for a few years, but it's continued my whole life as a child. All through my childhood, we were exposed to serving through our local church, through neighborhood community organizations that served us, and then we also in turn helped to serve others. So that was some exposure there. But then as an adult, so you get older, so that would say that was childhood, but then as a teenager and then as a young adult, the taking advantages of opportunities to serve help is key. I believe is well, it's a big part in helping people find your purpose. Can you find purpose without serving? I think you can, but it is easier and I believe better to find your purpose through serving. Why? Because when you're serving and you're doing a few things, one is giving you exposure to a lot of different things, at least if you're serving in different capacities. So I would add that caveat. I would encourage folks to serve in different places. So say you grew up in a church, and this is old school now, so I don't even know if this really exists for young people today, but if you grew up in a church, and in my day, we were the ushers. If you were on the usher board or whatever it was, and that's all you do, and you never do anything else, I'm not saying that it's bad to usher at all. It's very good, but I'm saying serve in different capacities, because what that does is it gives you exposure to lots of different things. It gives you exposure to lots of different people. And as you get older, what you're doing is you're compiling a memory bank, a library, if you will, of experiences in different places. And as you serve in those different capacities, you'll start to figure out some things. I like doing this. I don't like doing that. And when you start navigating like that through life, knowing that I love this, I don't like that, I try this, I love it, you start to, if you have a list and you draw a line, and these are the things you like and these are the things you don't like, now you're compiling a lot of these things on the like list, a lot on the don't like list. And as you get older, you're able to identify, okay, let me do more things in this sphere. That's going to show you some of your strengths, some of the things that you're really passionate about. It's going to show you things that you would do without anyone telling you to do it. And you could be creative in those areas as well. You can really dream. You really come alive. These things actually, you start to figure out what really gives you life. And as you compile those things, that's where you start getting a much more clear picture of what my purpose is. So I think that's one of a few very good ways to find purpose. And that's what has helped me define purpose.
So I have two questions. I wanted to know what I'm trying to figure out. Do I want to ask them both at the same time or whatever? So, What specifically did service teach you? Because I think that's interesting because I never thought about service in a way, because I guess in my brain, service is ingrained, right? And you just do it. You know, like I always say, I come from a family of church workers, like you just do it. Um, but I never thought to seek out service in a way because you just do, you just serve. So I want to talk about like what, yeah, like what specifically did service teach you, and then I want to talk about this like and don't like list. So on this like and don't like list, do you think we should always just follow the things we like? So I know those questions are different and I can come back to them. But yeah, those are my two questions. What did service teach you? And should we just follow the things on our like list?
Yeah, okay, this is what service taught me, and this is another key to finding purpose. Service taught me, um, service taught me how to treat people. Um, and why is that
That's
important?
good.
It is very important. So whether you are forced to, or either you are forced to serve, or you serve on your own by your own will and desire, it teaches you how to treat people. Why is this important to purpose? Well, I'm going to introduce this other concept, if you will, and I mean, it's just basically Bible, the scriptures. God teaches you purpose. And how does he do it? He gives you some kind of guidelines, some roadmap, if you will, as far as how to live your life. He says, number one, love me with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he says the second's like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. And then the scriptures kind of give you a kind of a laundry list of what loving your neighbor looks like: feeding the poor, homeless, orphan, widows, you know, people less fortunate, people who are in need.
Yeah.
And so what that does is when you start actively doing that, now you're learning to walk in purpose. And if you don't know anything else, if you just do that, you're going to do something that helps you at your core, because somewhere hardwired in people is this desire to be of help and of benefit to others.
Yeah.
And so uh, getting back to serving specifically, what serving does is serving implies that you're helping someone do something. When you're serving in different capacities, now you're helping people at different places. Um, it gives you a heart for people. It increases your heart for people. Um, and why is that important? Well, life is also going to teach you that if you don't work, you don't eat. And when you work, you're going to be working with all different kinds of people. And those lessons that you learn from serving will take you a long way, in how you treat people in the workplace. And oftentimes, a workplace is designed actually to serve other people. So you'll also get a leg up there because now you're used to serving other people already. So now you're learning now you have a better working knowledge of how to work with my coworkers, how to create a healthy environment as far as your workspace, and then how to effectively work with your customer. And the world, everyone sees the benefit of someone who has those good people skills, and they'll pay for it.
Yeah, that is good because I always say that being your purpose isn't for you. So yes, it's your path and the woods is cleared out for you in that way, but I believe that I'm free to free others. So whatever that looks like, right? Whatever that looks like, I am free to free others. And I'm thinking about people, as you said, that I was like, no, it does teach you how to treat people. I'm thinking about people that I know are in their purpose, but it's not developed yet. And their customer service sucks and they're nasty to people. And it's like, no, but you're called to do that. I see that it's clearly like that you're called to do this. But sir, ma'am, you that attitude is horrible, you know? And when you said that, I was like, no, that makes sense. Like service help. helps you learn how to treat people. And I always say, people's character by how they treat the janitor. I always say that because if you treat them bad, that means you don't need me, or you feel like you don't need me, you'll treat me bad as well. That's why I'm always nice to the janitor. Here's the key: be nice to the janitor, okay? I'm like, how you doing today? You want a cookie? I'm always, because you don't never know when you're gonna need them. Like and it's not about a give and take, but it's like you just never know. Like we're humans. You always need other people. But anyway, that was good. That was good. Thank you for that. So back to this like and don't like list. Let me tell you why I'm harping on it. Because I feel like there are a lot of things that I like. Never mind. Do you think that you should follow everything on your like list? I'm going to.
Yeah. Okay. So this likes and don't like list. Um, from a service standpoint, I think it's good to keep track of the things that you like and that you don't like from a service standpoint. Because as you get older and as you compile that list, you're going to see an area of strengths. This is a strength area. This is an area where it's almost like that path is already cut out for me. Like this is easy. When I run in this and when I walk in this, I feel good and people around me feel good. At least the people around you feel good when you've walked in when you're in a more developed state. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I say on the likes versus don't like list as it relates specifically to serving. Now, what I do, I want to um, uh, trans. I want to make this list. If I want to improve on my likes and don't like list, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say what gives me life and what doesn't give me life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now there's an evolution taking place, and the things that give me life, um, I can like something that doesn't give me life.
Yeah. Can you explain I know what you mean, but for our listeners, can you explain what give me life? Like, what do you mean by that verbiage? Give me life.
Yeah, something that gives you life, something um, that I guess restores you, something that you do that builds you up and doesn't tear you down, something that adds value to you and doesn't take away value at all. Those are things that give you life. So if you do something you like, but it takes from you, then now you can see problem areas that you need to really work on because you don't want those types of relationships. Now, this things that give me life and things that don't give me life list is a maturity and development thing as well, and it's something that does continue to evolve as you get older. So
So,
just because I'm 50 doesn't mean that my list is set. No, your life is different at 50 and at 80 or at 20. And things that give you life in a season don't always continue to give you life in the next season. So it's something that you constantly kind of have to monitor.
so I, so I'm laughing because I'm just like, I feel like you just called me immature, but they say a hurt dog will holler. Okay. So I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about like the thing, but you're right though. So we'll get to this later because we're going to talk about being summertime fine through your professional perspective. But even in our brief conversation earlier, I'm thinking about the things that I used to like food wise, and now I'm just like, I can't put that in me, and that's just food wise. But I'm thinking about all the things that have fallen off over the years that I didn't even think about, when did I stop doing that? Or when did I start doing, this thing that is good for me? So that's interesting because I asked that question because I feel like for people listening to this podcast, there are people who are trying to find their purpose, right? And I think it's dangerous from my viewpoint, but what you were saying is totally different than what I thought you meant. So I get it. But it's dangerous for people to just follow everything they like
Yes.
because one of the things that I say on this podcast all the time is that I love animals. I want to be a vet. Like until it was crazy, until my senior year of high school, I just knew I was going to veterinarian school. Then all of a sudden, I want to be a psychologist. I don't know, the Lord. Um, but I still have a love for animals. I want to farm, but I don't think my farm is my purpose. I just think it's going to be something that I do. You know what I'm saying? But I could have hung on to these animals and been a veterinarian, blah, blah, blah. And 20 years later, been like, I have missed everything because I liked animals. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I thought you were saying, but that's not what you were saying. And I just want people to know that it's kind of dangerous to just follow everything you like. Because what I like today, tomorrow I may not like that no more. And now you done built your life on something just because you liked it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not what you was talking about. Okay. Uh, is there anything other way, one other way, or any other ways to get us to purpose before we move on? Because I thought you had a couple ways.
Yeah, I actually kind of got into the second one, which is that list of things that give you life versus things that don't. And I want to kind of reiterate kind of what you said. So there are things like hobbies. We can have a hobby that is life giving.
Yes.
We enjoy doing it. It's something that we like.
Mm.
But is it our complete? Is it purposeful? Well,
That's
that's
what I mean.
huh?
That's what I mean. Like, yeah.
Yeah, purpose is going to involve a little more than a hobby. Purpose is going to be something that you can move forward with in a way that continues to give you life. So if you have a hobby, but you're not going to do anything with that hobby, as far as is it going to impact others? Is it going to help your family? Is it going to say you don't have a family yet of your own? Is it going to help you to start a family? Is your hobby in line with your with your goals or your visions? And that is actually, we're going to go ahead and add that to the list of things as far as helping us to find our purpose. Having a vision, for our future. What does that look like? What does your life look like 20 years down the line, 50 years down the line, however long you live? What does the end look like for you? That is also something that's very helpful in finding purpose.
That's a good question because none of my hobbies are on that list. That's
Mhm.
a good question. Because if I were to ask myself, like, what does my life look like in 50 years? I would not be like, well, I don't really have hobbies, but I don't think I would say any of my hobbies if I had them. What
Yeah,
are my hobbies? I guess my hobbies are hiking, I guess, but I don't think I would say that. Yeah. So you're right. That makes sense. Like, yeah, that
it
sounds good.
helps you to weed out things when, as far as when you're trying to pinpoint what is my purpose, what am I here for.
Mhm.
That vision for the future, that where am I going, is very important. And sometimes that's very hard and intimidating for people to think about, but that's when it also comes back to, as far as a relationship with God. I strongly encourage people to have a relationship with God, know Him, and know Jesus. Those are, to me, it's very important for the conversation of finding purpose, because he gives you a roadmap to do that. That roadmap, again, going back to what I said initially, is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Purpose, when you're walking in that purpose, or if you're wanting to know what the end looks like, what that vision looks like, what should it be? Well, it's probably going to have to do with helping other people, whether it's your family, whether it's something that you really have a heart for. And there may be some things that are a means to an end that help you to really fulfill that purpose. It could be the type of job you work. That I'm working this type of job because the end goal for me is to be able to do this. And therefore this job, um and we go through different seasons. A lot of times we go through different jobs or whatnot, but having that end in mind really helps us as we walk that path. And that end in mind typically has to do with somehow other people benefiting from us being on the planet.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And that's actually a great segue into our next question because you're talking about all these means to an end. So you started off as an accountant,
Yes.
like, and now you do something that don't have nothing to do with accounting. So how can you tell us about your journey to finding your purpose? How did we get from accountant to IEF? There we go. I didn't want to say a little. I was about to say IFE to IEF. How did we get there? What was your path?
Yeah. And so IEF stands for Inspire Everyday Fitness. And as you mentioned in the bio, I'm certified personal trainer, health coach, and also business owner. And how I got here, it had to do with that first story that I shared about my father and the ministry and serving people there. It had to do with those people who invested in my life while I was growing up, serving me and helping me and giving me exposure to lots of different things. And then as an adult, so I worked full time as an accountant here in Atlanta, actually. And in the meantime, I still serve. I was a volunteer basketball coach for a few years. I'll go backwards. When I was in college, I did something that was super cool. My family actually let me coordinate our family reunion one year when I was in college. That was very helpful. Yeah, yeah. So I was working at the I volunteered at the church, and I ran a college prep program. How that started though was we had a group of high school seniors who graduated, and they weren't really ready for college that first semester. So I said, let's put something together to help our help our new class, and even maybe we can involve some of those now freshmen, and really do something to help so that the next class can start college on a better foot. And
Mhm.
it ended up being a great program. We had about 14 adult volunteers, 90 plus students a Sunday. We did SAT, ACT, prep. We did college tours, and we did more. We were able to talk about social media. We were able to do vision boards. And then for the juniors and seniors, they actually did a college vision board where they go through and actually list a few colleges that they wanted to go to. And you'd be surprised that a lot of folks,
Thank you all day.
yeah, you'd be surprised. Well, or maybe you wouldn't be, that a lot of people hadn't thought about those things until they were exposed to it during our program. And a big thing that we actually realized, kind of going in a little more detail on the college prep side, but we realized or I realized that a lot of people are not performing to standard because they're not able to. A lot of people aren't performing at that standard level because they weren't exposed to the right stuff. The right things weren't in their environment. And so they were never looking at doing this certain thing until it was kind of too late. So anyway, we learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from that. But serving in these various capacities showed me some things about myself and things that I was gifted in. So my gifted areas. And that's why I encourage people to serve, serve, serve. And I said this when I was in college. So before any of the last few things that I mentioned, I was still talking about purpose, because around the time I was in college or high school, this book came out called The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And I thought it was good. I read it. It's been a long time, so I can't even go into the details. But this purpose thing was a question then, and it'll probably always be a question. What is my purpose? And the answer to me was the same: serve. When you start serving, you were exposed to a lot of different things, and that helped me. So what I did with Inspire Everyday Fitness, it's a mixture of my passions. One is helping people, and I learned that through serving. Another passion I have is health and fitness. Well, I actually grew up as an athlete, and I was a college athlete as well. But in college, I discovered that I was healthy on the outside, but was not healthy on the inside. And so I had to do two things. I had to adjust the way I was eating, and it took time. I had a stepmother, or have a stepmother, who's real big into health, and she would tell me I need to eat this and don't eat that. And over time, I started listening to her. And when I made those adjustments, I felt the difference. So it was actually something to it. And so I started changing my diet. The other thing was that I had to manage my stress differently. I had to manage my stress better. I realized that I was not handling stress very well. And even though I looked healthy on the outside, on the inside, I was a wreck, and I needed to do something about it. So, but that's the health and fitness piece. So I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about health and fitness. I'm also passionate about learning and being a lifelong learner. I want to continue to grow and develop. Um, and so what I also did was I said, okay, I did that thing that I asked you all to do, or said that would be a good idea. What are things that give me life? And what I did is I realized that all of those things give me life, and also doing some things outdoor and different activities give me life too. But I said, okay, now let's put a business behind it. And that's how I came up with Inspire Everyday Fitness. It's a mixture of my passions. It's a mixture of things that give me life. And how am I walking in purpose? Well, it's in line with the end vision, the
Yeah.
end vision for me, which is to help people. I really want to help people. I really want to make an impact. Um, I want to be healthy, for myself, for my wife, for my children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, great great grandchildren, and
Yeah.
I'll go on. I'll run out. Yep,
You
that
gonna
means I'm gonna
be
be pretty old, uh, and have all my faculties,
here?
and also the effect that I'll have on my community
Yeah.
is going to be great. And that's, I have this vision of what the end looks like. And and so what I'm doing today is I'm trying to walk in that.
Yeah.
So if I don't see all of those days, there will be something said of my life, and that things that I'm passionate about, which is loving God and loving people,
Yeah.
loving others like I love myself, you know, that's what's going to be said, and that's what's going to be shared about me. And the faster or the quicker, or and I don't want to rush people into, I've got to find my purpose and be really
Yeah. It's a
anxious about it.
journey.
Right, it's a journey,
Definitely.
but as you walk that journey, it gets more clear. And so I encourage people to get on that, and it really gives me a lot of
Yeah.
meaning, a lot of value. And the things that I do now have the energy to do it. So the things that are a little more difficult, that may be on my don't like list, that I still have to do,
Hmm.
well, now I do it with a different kind of energy, because I know where the end game is.
Yeah. That yes. Thank you for that. And one of the things I always say is not everyone has a big bang moment. Cause some people wake up and they say, I just woke up one day and started a company and now I'm a millionaire 2 days later. Like legit, not like ha 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 2 days later, but no, and it sounds as if that wasn't your story. And I think that's encouraging to people because sometimes we just see people, we see their what we call social media, their highlight reel, right? We don't see that it was a journey. Like you were an accountant, like, and maybe you were passionate about accounting at one point for you to major in it and work in it for so long, but it wasn't, like you said, the end goal, the end vision of your life. And I think people, as they're finding their purpose, I think that's a good question to ask. Like in not even 50 years, in 10 years,
Mhm.
like sometimes I can't, in 50 years, I'll be 81, Lord Jesus. But in 10 years, like who do I want to be? What do I want my life to look like? I think those are like great questions to help you follow these passions. And I think that's dope that like you were able to do that. Also, one of the things I do say, and I realize through doing this podcast. It is a privilege to be able to go towards your purpose.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that privilege, but you we're privileged enough, me as well. We're privileged people to quit our job and to do these things full time. And I think that's dope. I think that's dope that you're helping people get healthy on the inside and the outside. And one of the key things you said, which I'm trying to figure out, do I want to say it now or wait till I ask your next question? I'm gonna ask the next question, then I'm gonna talk about it. So the next question is, so this month, June and July, even though it's May while we're recording this, it's about being summertime fine. And so what I'm wondering is, from your perspective, from a health perspective, how can people be more summertime fine so they can go towards their purpose? And the thing I want to bring out that you said that speaks to me personally is, I'm no longer tired because I have changed how I eat. I have changed how I whatever. So you can speak to that however you want, but from your perspective, how do I become summertime fine?
Okay. I'll hit that on the back end, and you may have to bring me back there, but if so, please do. Summertime fine. I wrote down a few things. I may look, I may not, but I'm going to start off with this first one. It's a biggie, and it's mindset. Mindset. That's where it all starts.
Yes.
So if your mindset is not right, you won't be summertime fine. If you're not able to tell yourself that I'm fine, I'm gorgeous, I'm attractive, if you can't, and so that's where it starts. And you don't have to lift a weight. You don't have to eat kale to do that. You don't. It starts there, and that's where I want to start people off. Why? Because there are people who you say, man, they are gorgeous, they are attractive, they are fine, and then you talk to them, and they're talking about all these issues they have and all their insecurities, and I look fat in this and this and that.
Yes.
So it starts in the mind. If you can't be summertime fine in your mind, then you won't be summertime fine. So
That
that's
is so yes. So I try to put myself on mute so all my ad libs won't come in. But I was talking the whole time. I was like, yeah, that is so true. Because on my journey to purpose, that's one of the things that the Lord kept talking. Like he always just like, watch what you think. Not
mhm.
watch what you say, but watch what you think. And not that I was like, oh, Jasmine, you're so ugly, but more like, man, I ain't never gonna get no clients. Like saying things like that, like watch what you think. Your mindset definitely changes everything. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, it's real good, and I thought it's very fitting to start us off there, because these other things that we do, if we do these other things, but we didn't tackle that mindset, then a lot of things happen. We get discouraged, we quit, we give up, or we get to where we thought was a goal and realize that it was empty. It didn't give us the thing that we so deeply wanted. So
Um,
mindset.
my question is, how do people, from your perspective, change their mindset?
Yeah, yeah. So here it happens a few ways. If you have a spiritual life, if you have a personal relationship with God, I encourage you to start there as far as changing that mindset and to personalize that relationship. So it's not based on a bad experience, that is not based on your mom, your dad, even if it were a good experience. Start there, because God pumps in life giving information. What he does is he renews your mind. He renews your mind. He also he kind of talks about what to think about and what to meditate on. Meditate on the word. Meditate on it day and night. Again, that's real good for someone who's a believer. But also, there's another scripture that talks about whatsoever is good, whatsoever is profitable, whatever is praiseworthy. Think on these things. So he's actually talking you through, walking you through a mental process that is edifying. So I would say start there, as far as the things that how to improve this mindset. And then another thing is words of affirmation, or I say words of affirmation. Having doing affirmations, creating a list. I am beautiful, I am sexy, I am whatever. I think that is a good way as well, because what happens is, this is what's really happening as we work throughout our day. Our mind is always really processing, and it's telling us things. It's telling us what we is telling us what to do. It's telling us who we are. And if we pay attention, if we pause and take note of what we're telling ourselves, sometimes it's really scary, because sometimes we're telling ourselves a lot of bad things. And what happens is, those things, it produces a negative and kind of toxic environment. So the affirmations are helpful, because now we are speaking things over the negative voices in our head. So we're really changing that. And this is a good word: self-talk. Our self-talk is so important. And if we're self-talking in a positive way,
Yes.
you can do things that look unbelievable, just because of the words that you're telling yourself. And then you can also mess up in royally, because of the words that you're telling yourself. So that the what we say to ourselves is super important. And how do we hijack that? If we realize that our self-talk is negative, words of affirmation are great. If you have a spiritual life, particularly a relationship with God and Jesus, then really digging into that word, and developing that personal relationship. And that's a great way, because the scripture is full of things. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. We're made in the image of God. So if I'm made in the image of God, then I should have a different swagger about myself. And if I don't, maybe I need to remind myself of who I am. And
Yeah.
that's what the affirmations do. And that is really how you change that negative self-talk. You get in there and you change the messaging.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's really good. Yeah, I don't have nothing to say. That's good. Cause I think your mind affects everything.
Mhm.
And our self-talk come, and now that I'm being more aware, like I was speaking to you earlier about, I'm more aware of everything. Um, being aware, even like, because I don't think I'm negative, but sometimes when I say stuff, I'm like, where'd that come from? Like, what, why do you believe that way? Or I don't know. That was just
Yeah,
good.
and
I don't have nothing else
I'm
to
gonna
say.
add one more thing to it and try to kind of move along. I don't want to spend too much time here, but just recently I did something. It was actually a photo and video shoot, and the the whole time I felt like, man, I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared like I want to be. I don't. This isn't right. That's not right. And this was cycling through my head the whole time, the whole entire time. And what was the outcome of that? What the outcome of that was a less than or mediocre photo shoot, and video shoot. It wasn't good as it was supposed to be. I'll probably have to redo it. And it didn't have anything to do with the photographer or the videographer. It was all about Bradley and the words that Bradley was saying to himself. It can take it. You can take your negative self-talk and place yourself around other people, and you're going to create like a negative circle. And so is so small, but even maybe in that example, you can see that if I change the way that I speak to myself, if I start speaking some positivity, now when I go into this bank or when I go into this grocery store and, things may not be happening the way I want them to, maybe they are. But just because I'm being so positive, it's going to change the outcomes. And so that's the importance of it. And going back to summertime fine, it changes everything. I start with that, to talk about being summertime fine, because the other things it's going to give you the energy to do some of the other things that you may not want to do.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Um, I mean, what's your next one? That's all. I don't have nothing to say. That was good. Like, I think our mindset changes everything, and we don't think of it in that way. Well,
Mhm.
I know I don't.
Yeah, the next thing would be vision. So first one's mindset, the next one's vision. Vision is having a clear picture of where you're going. So if you want to be summertime fine, what does summertime fine look like to you? Have a picture of that and make it clear, make it plain. So if you have to draw it out, if you have to cut out magazine, if and it's actually fine if it's well ingrained in your head. This is the vision. This is where I'm going. But start with that mindset. Then have a vision. Create the vision of where you're going. The next one would be consistency. So the thing with consistency, maybe a better way to put it
That's a
is
curse word.
right, small steps and being okay with taking a small step today and taking another small step tomorrow and taking another small step the next day. Think of it as a as taking small steps often. So what the small steps does is, you asked about, or you mentioned about how clear my purpose is, and sometimes it takes time, or sometimes you just don't know. And the thing about it is, even where I'm at right now in my journey as a small business owner, there's no overnight success, and I didn't come to that overnight. How did I come to it? I consistently served others. I consistently had different experiences, and I consistently took really small steps. And what happens is the small steps don't look like nothing during the time. It doesn't look like you're going anywhere. But what happens is, because how this is set up, how time is set up, you are going somewhere. And if I just take a small step today, a small step tomorrow, and I have a vision, the vision, say from a life perspective, you might not know exactly what the end looks like. You might just be able to say, I want to help people. That might be all you know for now, but that's good enough. So taking those small steps, and then back to summertime fine, taking the small steps is going to be important, because you have to develop the consistency, because because everything builds on itself. But if you think of consistency as small steps, maybe it's a less offensive cuss word.
So actually the theme at Prosper Projects, I shout out Prosper Projects every episode. The theme for May is a step a day in May, and that's what we encourage people to do through our videos. It's just to take one step a day. As you take each step, you will get, like you said, you will get closer. I actually saw a meme today. There was two ladders, and one had smaller rungs and one had like longer runs, and they were just talking about like the difference between, you'll be able to get up faster with the smaller rungs and the bigger runs. So yeah, I'm not against consistency. It just kind of offends me sometimes. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm a developer.
I get it. I get it.
I think my thing is, I could be, what is considered consistency? See, here, this is a personal question that we can talk about later, but I feel like I've been consistent for about 3 weeks, and then I just take like a week off. Anyway, what's next on your list? We can talk about me later.
Yes, the next two go kind of hand in hand: exercise and diet. What is more important from that list? I'd say diet. Diet's actually, uh, if there's something that, both of them are important, so don't hear me wrong. But if there was one that's more important, it would be diet. Why diet and why not exercise? One, because the exercise is just not enough. Different people have different metabolisms. Different people have different body types, and exercise is going to give you some good endorphins. It can help you to tone, but you can undo a lot of that by your diet. You can undo it. The
Oh, I
things
know,
that you
Bradley.
yeah. So I say, going to diet. A thing. Inspire Everyday Fitness is a plant-based company, And whether you are plant-based or not, the big thing here is eating more plants, eating more vegetables, eating more grains, legumes, and the other vegetables, mushrooms. These are all really good things. If you can just add more vegetables to your plate each day, or even try a all vegetable meal, just trying it out one day a week, one meal for one day a week, and then transition it to maybe one whole day a week, and doing things like that. That can take you a long way. But eating more plants is going to be the biggest thing there.
That's
And
how it went meatless. I started with meatless Mondays. And then I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I don't like meat no more. So I think that that's helpful.
Yeah, and then the exercise. Exercise is still again important, and for a summertime fine, remember the diet is a little more important than exercise. When it comes to exercise, that's where your goals are important as well, because that's going to depict how you exercise. Because your exercise is probably going to be very important to reach that goal. If you want a six pack and you want tone or 8 pack, and you want tone muscles, and or then the diet is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough if you want that definition. If you want those muscles to pop, you actually have to work those muscles. Also, if your goal is just to lose weight, then you can add the diet plus your cardio, and that will you'll drop the weight. You'll drop, depending on your diet, you can drop the weight with just the diet. But anyway, diet plus cardio, you can drop weight. But when it comes to your definition, if you want again the popping abs or the popping arms, even the legs, then how you exercise is going to be important. And I'd say there that you do want to do some resistance training. So incorporating the resistance training consistently, which means that 1 to 2 days a week is probably not going to be enough for your goals if you really are wanting to grow muscularly. So that consistency is going to be key over a time frame. That's why the vision is important. And that's why having the vision somewhere where you always see it, knowing where you're going, knowing where that your steps aren't aimless, they're actually going in a direction. And you have to have, I didn't have this written down, but you have to have faith. Faith, and I'll
Yeah.
end it there. As far as summertime fine, faith is going to be important for you to fully execute. Faith is going to be important to the consistency. You have to believe that you're going to get the outcome that you want.
Yeah.
And that goes back to mindset, because some of that is a mental muscle. We have to work to tell ourselves the right thing so that we can actually believe and have the faith that the vision, the thing that we want and desire, that we can actually get it. There goes back to the mind. You have to put in that work there.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you neglect the mind and think you're going to get there, you probably won't get far. But you can do it. Focus on that mindset, develop that faith, make more clear that vision, take those small steps every day.
You right, Bradley. The whole time he was talking, I was making faces if you're listening to this and not watching it on YouTube. Because, Bradley, although you are correct, I don't have nothing else to say. I'm just upset. A hurt dog a holler, like I said earlier. And the other day, my trainer was like, Jasmine, you just don't do right. You know, I can give you all the exercise you want. You come in here, you do your workout, but you just don't do right. And you know what I decided, Bradley? The vision is I just don't want to die. You know what? This weight loss thing may not be for me. It may not be for me, but as long as I can get my heart rate up every day, you know what I'm saying? When I go to the doctor, they always say I'm healthy. So let's just, maybe that's my goal, to just not die. Okay, because the other goals just don't be working. But anyway, that's funny because I was like, I was like, really? I ain't bring you on here to do all this. Actually, I did. That's what you're on here for. Thank you for telling us how to get to summertime fun from your perspective. Oh, it was something I wanted to touch on. Being tired. Because that's actually an issue that I have. I feel like I'm chronically tired. And I realize I think it's dehydration. I don't think it's like what we talked about earlier, how I barely eat. But I really think for me, I feel better when I am consistently hydrated. So I don't want you to talk about that, but I do want you to talk about the difference between having energy and not having energy, like what that did for your life, what that did for your purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, the having energy helps you to function at your highest level, and that's what I've been working to do probably all my life, but especially my adult life. I'm trying to eat healthier. I want to look great, and I want to have the energy to function at a very high level. And so, yeah, having the energy is important. And then, how do we get the energy? We get it through our diet. We get it through our water. A lot of us are dehydrated. And what happens when someone's severely dehydrated? They can't do nothing. You can't do anything. Why?
Nothing.
Because you don't have the energy. Why? Because you get energy from the water.
Can't do nothing.
Right. So when we talk about hydration, though, water specifically is very important. Can you flavor the water with juice or lemon, lime, stuff like that? Yes. Yeah. If that's going to help you to drink the water, do that. The artificial sweeteners and things like that, I don't encourage that at all. But drink more water, specifically water. That's going to be very helpful. But yeah, you do want to have that energy to be able to do the things you want to do. Just gives you life.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when I'm hydrated, I feel like I can take on the world.
Hmm.
And I sweat a lot. This is personal information, but anyway, I sweat a lot when I work out, and I don't think I realize that I'm not replenishing. Like I may not, I may drink my gallon a day. Again, consistency. I may do that for 2 weeks straight, but I may drink my gallon a day. But I don't actually think that's replenishing the amount that I
Hmm.
lose because of how much like I sweat doing when I work out, and I can tell the difference. Like I really can tell the difference, even if I like drink a fourth a gallon one day. The next day I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I am tired. So consistency is key. That little cuss word that Bradley brought upon this family friendly show. It's key. So I am going to be more consistent. I'm personally challenged to drink water and change my diet. That's not true. I'll eat the way I want to eat. I just need to
Now
be
let me
better
ask
at it.
with the energy. If you want to increase that energy too, we talked about diet and exercise and water, but it's going to come back to things that give you life, and the things that don't give you life basically are things typically adding toxicity to your life. So what you're doing when you're eating better and when you're drinking your water is you're detoxifying. And so that detoxification helps you to function at a high level. It gives you energy. So there may be some other things that are affecting your life and your energy levels that may need to be assessed beyond water and food. And so that's very, very, very important.
This show not about me, but thank you, Bradley. No, for real, that's good though. Because I do say I talk about my counselor all the time. Shout out to Sue Ellen. I do think we've talked about that several times too. She's like, sometimes you may be tired because you're emotionally like drained. You do a lot of stuff, and I was like, I do a lot of stuff, you know. And just talking about all the different areas of your life and taking an assessment of what is sapping your energy. So that's good too. Um, yeah, thank you. So the way I end, oh, you have something else?
No, no, that was
Okay.
it.
So the way I end every podcast is if people get nothing else from this episode, we have talked about an hour or so. You have said a lot of good things, and if maybe people brushed over some things, but if they get nothing else from this episode, what would you like them to leave here with?
Yeah, I like you to leave here with there's a I'm looking for this word with inspiration, encouragement to walk in your purpose today. What does that look like? You know, how can I help someone else, or how can I add more things to this life-giving list? And how can I identify things in my life that aren't giving me life, that are actually toxic? I encourage you to write a list, draw a line, things that give me life, things that don't give me life. Start today. Be encouraged, be inspired. You can do it. The process is pretty much the same for everyone. Everyone, you still have to work through it. And when you do what everyone else is doing, so don't feel embarrassed, don't feel bad that you're doing this. It's not too elementary. Do this, and it will help you today. Be encouraged, be inspired. You can do it.
Thank you. This is a great episode, Bradley. Thank you for being a part of the Purpose Podcast with Dr. Jazz. Thank you all for listening to this episode, and I will see you all next week.